I have been working on some things with health issues and diet and exercise, and so I thought I'd just share some things that I have learned. And I entitled it today, Healthy Habits for a New Year. What is the number one New Year's goal? Anybody take a guess?
Lose weight.
Health.
Lose weight, but right next to it is just health in general, exercise, that sort of thing. Is that a bad thing to do? No, it's good, but here's a little depressing statistic. 85% of people who go on a diet without a behavioral support gain wind up gaining the weight back within 2 years. Pretty depressing. That's been the case with me. I've 2 or 3 times I've lost weight, but notice there's a little thing at the end that says without behavioral support is one of the things. One of my favorite texts in the Bible. Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. The Bible has a lot to say about health, and God does want us to be healthy. So last spring, I go to see my cardiologist once a year. And I had been gaining some weight, but along with that, my cholesterol had been ticking up and my triglycerides and my blood glucose went up quite a bit. And he'd been pretty complimentary on me on my exercise program, but when he got all done, he's one of the best cardiologists in the nation. He teaches other cardiologists, and he looked me straight in the eye, and I was sitting on that table, and he reached across, and he poked me in the gut, and he said, Mr. Smith, lose that. Whoa. Guess you don't have to say much more, do you? So he walked out the door, and this was what he was talking about. This was me last spring, working out at the church. If you'll notice a lot of the pictures we did, I didn't include many of myself because I really didn't like what I was seeing. And I had put on quite a bit of weight. In fact, I put on all the weight that I'd lost after I had my heart stents. So my doctor said lose weight, but the question then becomes, well, that's great. How? How do you lose weight, right? The book I was reading, it says normally what they say is, well, you eat just a little less and you exercise a little more and then you slowly lose it and slowly. Well, good luck with that, right? Doesn't take long. I had done that several times and I'd lost 4 or 5 pounds, but before I knew it, I'd put it back on. And I really hadn't made any behavioral changes, so it slipped back on. So I told my wife this was last spring. Right after that, I said, I really need to go on some sort of a structured program. And I was thinking maybe I had to go down to a medical weight loss clinic. There's a number of programs that are out there. I said, but I got to get on something where I'm really held accountable. Do this at this day, do that at that day type thing. I said, because just hit and miss is not working for me. And I did probably smartest thing I've done is I said, God, I got to lose weight. But I've tried several different things, and I wind up just sliding back into it. I said, I really need some sort of a program. And here's some of the programs I was thinking about. Weight Watchers, and I've been on that twice, and I had been successful one time. I lost over 20 pounds on Weight Watchers. But when you meet with the Weight Watchers group, it's great. The only thing is it was 99% women. And they were all trading recipes and, did you try this cookie and that cookie? But it really didn't apply much to me. I had in the past tried South Beach Diet. It worked pretty good. I lost almost 20 pounds, but I started craving carbs really bad. And this book that I'm reading now talks about that if you do not get a certain amount of carbs in you, your body says, hey, you're starving for carbs, and you really start to want it. As I was thinking of the different programs, there was NutraSweet, there was Looms, there were Go Low, and I think medical weight these were all the ones that were being advertised on TV. And I said, Lord, I really don't want to do these, but I got to do something. I'm way overweight, and my cardiologist, and by the way, I was seeing a pulmonologist when we were doing all this work here. I got all that construction dust in my lungs, and man, I flared up. And he told me, he said, by the way, if you ever get that, don't fool around with that. He said you can scar your lungs, and then they don't heal. So he put me basically on steroids, and I'm almost, but he said, it would really help if you lost weight. Okay. So anyway, that kind of, okay, I got it. I got to do something, right? In the book of Samuel 25:6, it says, long life to you, good health to you and your household, and good health to all that is yours. God has an interest in our health. And when I prayed and said, Lord, would you help me find something? I'm going to slip down. I got onto this. We went to Brad and Kathy's, and Brad and Kathy had been on a program, and they'd been successful. It's called Octavia, and it's by a doctor named Scott Anderson. And come to find out, quite a few Adventists had been getting on this because I'll show it to you in a little bit. It's plant-based protein. It's soy protein predominantly in it, and this book that goes along with it pretty well parallels our 8 health laws. So there's a couple things that aren't there. But at any rate, I just found that interesting. God, I need a plan. And I go to somebody's house, and we don't go to Brad and Kat's house very often. And they happened to be on a program, and they said, wow, this really works, Syd. So I'm going to show it to you. So you start in the morning, and you do a milkshake. This one happens to be strawberry, but you can do chocolate, and you can do peanut butter, whatever you want. They got other. Just put it in there. I put some cold water in there, usually an ice cube or two, and then make a little spring in there, and you shake it up for 30 seconds, and you drink that. Then about 10 o'clock, you eat a little snack bar. It's got predominantly protein, but it does have it has some probiotics, and it's got vitamins and some other things. And then, for me, I go to work, and I've got a microwave at work, and so I pull out one of these things. This is a rustic tomato herb penne. It's like a little spaghetti dish, but you can have chilies, or you can have chicken noodle soup. That's pretty good. You mix it up with some, microwave it, and it's pretty good. Then at 2 o'clock, usually on my way home, I stop and eat these. Then at dinner, they have what they call a lean and green, so you can eat whatever it is. You can get plant protein, or you can eat, he recommends in this like salmon or something like that, but something, and the nice thing, because there's so many Seventh-day Adventists on this, they all share recipes. Brad and Kathy gave us a couple of good ones that you can eat. And then at night, if you get the munchies like I do, this is a little brownie chocolate thing that you can eat, but there's different ones. And so you eat about every 2 to 3 hours. And for me, what I found is it really kills the appetite. I mean, I guess I'm never full, but I'm never really hungry. And I've been on this 8 months, and I'm still doing good. Here's an interesting statistic. So I started reading this book that goes with it. And if you do decide to get on it, read the book. It's really helpful. For the first time, Americans' lifespans are starting to decrease. That's what this graph shows. But there's an exception to that. People that eat a healthy, plant-based exercise diet, their lifespan is increasing. Okay? Kind of a dichotomy here. This is your typical American diet, and you see that up and down and up and down. That's your blood sugars, the dotted line. And then the other wavy line That's your blood producing insulin. And when you eat a big meal, especially if it's high glycemic, your blood sugar does what? Choo. So what does your blood insulin do? Choo, right? But then you burn through all that blood sugar, and then what happens? Right? But your blood insulin, it takes a while. So you know what it does to the fat during that or I just gave it away. For whatever reason, it starts to store fat during that high insulin mode. And then you repeat this. You go back and... So what this diet that I'm on does is you eat 6 times a day and your blood sugar stays much evener. And your insulin also stays much more even. You read the statistic that goes with this, and they said they took people, gave them exact same diet, only they split the one up in 6 meals with one group, and the other, they gave them the traditional 3 meals. The people that ate the 6 meals lost more weight, and their blood sugar and blood insulin stayed much steadier. Now, I don't know that that's true for everybody, but I think for people such as myself, that is true. I get these ups and downs, and I'm really hungry, and I could chew on leather, and then, and when I'm really hungry like that, I tend to really want bad foods. On this diet, that's really helped. The other thing they bring out in this is, if you remember our 8 health laws, I remember Pastor Benson telling us, if you only do one thing, he said exercise of the 8 health laws. It really surprised me. He told me a surprising statistic. He said people that smoke and exercise are in better shape than people who don't smoke and don't exercise. And that stunned me. All right. Now, the name of the program was the 8 Laws of Health, so it's not just one or the other. It's several things. But one of the things they really want you to do is start walking more. But they caution you that a lot of times people think, well, I'm going to exercise my way into it, right? And they want to bring out that in order to lose weight through exercise, you need to be up around 90 minutes a day. And I just thought I'd bring out, I have started walking 10,000, took me a while. I'm up 10,000 steps a day. It's about 90 minutes of walking on that. Here's a thing, and if you think you're going to lose your weight just by exercise alone, I've got it highlighted, it says, but in order to burn just 1 pound, you have to run 33.8 miles. So you might want to think about adding something on calories restriction to go with that. Another thing that they talk about in this book that I found is it's called Establishing Healthy Habits. That's the name of the book. And to do that, you need a loop, a habit loop. And if you read in that, there's a cue. You have a desire, a cue, and that is a result. For me, 10,000 steps a day, the cue is, has anybody got Fitbit? Yes. Read it. Keep track of it. How many is yours, Levi?
3,057.
How many steps does Mom usually get a day?
10,000.
12,000. 12,000. I've been up around 10,000 a day. Then I got a little, they give you these little rewards. Congratulations, you've done 23 days in a row, 10,000 steps and that. But I do want to point out, if you're thinking about doing it, I didn't start that way. I started out around 4,000 or 5,000, and I built my way up. I decided, they talk about establishing healthy habits. I got off I get right off by the expressway there when I come back from work, and I said, hey, I'm right by a walking track, why don't I walk some? So I started walking. When you walk, I didn't set out to do 10,000. I just said I'll just walk for like 20 minutes. And they got a couple loops. One's about 25 minutes. The other one's a little over a half hour. So I thought I'll just jump off and I'll do a half hour. It wasn't long before I could do the big one. And it wasn't long before that, I started noticing, man, I was approaching like 8,000, 9,000. I thought, just 1,000 more steps, I'll be at the 10,000. By the way, if you get home today, for a nice reading, just go to your Google app and Google 10,000 steps, the magic of 10,000 steps, all right? Just put that on your Google, the magic of 10,000 steps, and read. There's 4 or 5 different articles on it, but it seems to be what the body's meant to be at. And there's all kinds of great things that happen from a health perspective. I do want to, I want to caution you, don't overcommit. Don't say I'm going to do a 5K if you don't do 5Ks, all right? 10,000 is a pretty good, but even that, if you are not walking 5,000, 4,000, if you're doing 4,000, make it 6,000. And I'm going to tell you, you keep track, and you're going to start seeing 6 some days, then you're going to wind up going to the mall after that, and you're going to, oh my goodness, I got 10,000 today, It just let it build. But what this graph is showing is everything in the red that's about where your self willpower is. Don't pick a goal where you have to have super willpower to get that done for the day. Pick a goal that you can do for the day. So if you look and you track your Fitbit, man, I usually do around 4,000 a day, then say 5,000 or say 6,000 and do 6,000. Then on some days, it'll be a beautiful sunny day. The church will say, hey, we're all meeting out at the park, let's go walking. Hey, you got 10,000. You beat what you thought you were going to do. So I got into this program and I just plugged myself in. Like I said, I drink the breakfast, I eat my little snack and that, and I have established my health habit loop. Just so you know, it takes about 2 months to establish a health habit loop. So if you decide you're going to do this, figure on going to about mid-March before that becomes a habit. When it becomes a habit, you don't have to think about it. You just do it. So I got into this where I am now eating these meals. I've been doing it for about 8 months. I am up to over 10,000 steps a day. I drink over 6, that's on this thing that I got you doing too, is you got to drink 64 ounces of water. That's what this was. So that's about 3 of these. And it used to be hard for me to do 64. Now, ask my wife, I'm usually up around 100 ounces a day. And I just can't tell you how much better I feel. And I thought I'd give you some statistics, and I'm not doing this to brag, and I realize a year from now, based on my past history, I might be slipping. But I'm hoping I've established a permanent habit on that. So my walking, I started, I think, around 4,000 steps a day. I now am up at 10,000. My water, it was all I could do to get 64 in me. Now I'm pretty much over 100 each day. I used to do my elliptical cross trainer twice a week. My pulmonologist told me I should do that 3 times a week, so I do that 3 times. I do core strengthening, used to do it twice a week. Now I do it 3 times a week. My weight, I started at 240. I am now, the other day I got just under 200 pounds. So I sent out a text to my son-in-law saying I'm no longer in the 200-pound club there. My goal is 165 pounds. That for my BMI. That's the high end, 165. So I got a ways to go yet. My waist was 44, now it's down to 39. The goal, they want you below 37. Something you should, your waist circumference indicates how much internal fat you have. It's called visceral fat. And visceral fat can lead to all kinds of problems. So even your weight might be down if you've got a big belly. You might want to think about that, what you can do on that, because that's a separate health issue. Got my blood work back. My cholesterol was pretty good, but I was on statins. It improved, but look at my triglycerides. That's what my doctor was worried about. It was 225, now it's 90. My blood glucose was 134, now it's 100. My hemoglobin A1C was 5.9. I was considered pre-diabetic. And now I've dropped it to 5.5 on this diet. So there's good results that go with all these things. And this goes on to talk about, if you read through there, all the benefits that go with a healthy lifestyle. Longer life, a healthier life. I was telling Dave 2 things I didn't expect. I've got a bad back, small my back, and I do core strengthening for that. When I walk, I am 100% pain-free. And as long as I stay standing up, I stay that way. I was having to take Pepsid for an antacid pretty much every day. I haven't taken one in 6 months on these new diets. So there's a lot of benefits. If you read that, it says just, and listen to this, you may not want to lose 40 pounds. Just a 10% weight loss results in a 50% decrease in disease. Isn't that an amazing statistic? So, as you're thinking about your goals for this year, make them attainable. I would suggest you get into a structured program and have somebody you're accountable for, too, that you're talking to. Preferably get into a group. That's the number one most successful thing with Weight Watchers. They get in a group and they start to talk about it. This is 1 Corinthians, wow. 1 Corinthians 6:19. What? Do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which you have from God, and that you are not your own? For you were bought with a price. Therefore glorify God with your body and in your spirit, which are God's. Right? And thank you, honey. And all I can tell you is when I prayed, God immediately answered that prayer. It wasn't like I had to persuade God or, hey, God, I really want to start looking good in my suit again, God said, boom, right here, led me right to a program. And I don't know what yours is. Obviously, the number one best is to eat a very healthy vegan, vegetarian diet. But for those of us that are on the go, that are moving, that may not be the easiest thing to do. Program I'm on works. I know Weight Watchers works. You can gear it towards a vegetarian or vegan diet. But I would strongly recommend that you get into something that you can do, that you can find. And that for this coming year, you would have success and be healthier. And that's the message I prepared for today, folks.